Come, let us journey into the sacred presence of God. Selected 1. Right now, someone's world is collapsing. Not literally, but figuratively, crumbling beneath the weight of admissions that began as whispers and have since grown into a scream that reverberates through police stations and courthouse hallways. With their voices cracking under questioning lights, the person who stood in the witness box and portrayed you as dangerous, unstable, and unfit is now confessing to atrocities that will make your soul burn with righteous rage and your spine tingle with vindication. But it's not what you think they're confessing to. From futures that were stolen before you knew they existed to family secrets that were buried before you were even born, what's gushing from their quivering lips extends deeper into your lineage than you could have ever dreamed imaginable. During this interview, the investigator posed a question that caused your false accuser's face to turn completely pale. The untruth they told in court wasn't a question. It had nothing to do with the money they got. It has nothing to do with the instruction they had before to testifying. The images became the subject of the inquiry. Photographs containing proof that contradicts every word of their sworn statement, showing that they were with people they claimed never to have met, and in locations they swore under oath they had never been. Right now, your false accuser is looking at these pictures, while their lawyer is scrawling rapidly as they realize their client is guilty of more than simply lying. Their large-scale fraud scheme turns this from a family quarrel into a federal inquiry that could wipe out lives, reputations, and bank accounts in several states. One fatal mistake was made by the mastermind behind your destruction. They put their trust in a narcissist to carry out their scheme. Narcissists are unable to quit recording their cunning, preserving proof of their supremacy, and hoarding the trophies of their triumphs. Your adversary wanted to see how brilliant they were, so they documented every meeting, every payment, and every planning session. They will now be imprisoned for decades as a result of such recordings. However, something even more combustible is taking place down the hall when that confession is being made in one interrogation room. The individual in charge of the financial transactions, the one who transferred funds from secret accounts to buy fabricated testimony, recently learned that banking authorities were tracking every electronic transfer they made and have been assembling a case that goes much beyond your circumstances. For months, federal investigators have been investigating odd financial trends, tracing the movement of funds from estate accounts into the purses of individuals who subsequently testify as witnesses in inheritance disputes. They didn't target your case. They confirmed the existence of a systematic network that uses false evidence and testimony to take inheritance. Every bribe paid to discredit prospective heirs, every payment made to fabricate witnesses, and every transfer intended to finance character assassination campaigns are all documented in the folder the banking investigator passed across the table. Your lawsuit is not the only financial crime committed by your adversary. They are involved in a criminal operation that has embezzled millions of dollars from legitimate heirs nationwide. Beloved, I believe this is a faith moment, because when you release what's in your hand, God can release what's in His. If this channel has encouraged your heart, would you prayerfully sow a seed, $20, $50, or more, through the Super Thanks button, because your gift carries hope to others and your obedience positions you for God's best. The Word declares, a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Proverbs 11 verse 25. So give with joy, give with expectation, and give as worship, because I'm agreeing with you for open doors, fresh favor, and testimonies of provision in Jesus' name. Thank you for standing with us, because together we're reaching farther than ever. Instead of crying and revealing everything, your false accuser simply broke. When they saw that the photos showed they were there at planning sessions they swore never took place, the thing exploded. They are now acknowledging that the testimony against you was prepared, staged, and given for financial advantage. Furthermore, they are exposing the existence of a manual, a concrete instruction manual, for fabricating credible false testimony against beneficiaries of inheritance. When the investigator realizes what they are hearing, their hand freezes. This handbook wasn't only hypothetical. Your own bloodline was used for field testing. Your phony accuser is explaining how the same lies, the same fabricated proof, and the same network of bought witnesses were used to methodically remove former family members from consideration for inheritance. You were never the first victim of this system, which your family member has been honing for decades. The booklet contains comprehensive psychological profiles of every family member, including their deepest anxieties, greatest fears, and most susceptible pressure points. This is what's making the seasoned detective sick. Your reputation wasn't attacked at random by your destroyer. Like a scientific experiment, they examined you to determine which lies would be most detrimental to your particular personality type and social network. The profile that was made about you is kept in a folder with comparable psychological evaluations of other family members who were thought to pose a threat to your family's authority over resources. Each profile includes tactics for inciting mental health crises, suggestions for removing the target from support networks, and comprehensive plans for dismantling them in a way that makes it seem like the result of their own bad decisions rather than deliberate sabotage. This handbook includes psychological profiles that illustrate which lies about particular personality types are most harmful. It covers coaching methods for projecting credibility when being questioned cross-examination. It offers illustrative testimony that have effectively discredited earlier victims. Your devastation wasn't intimate. It was methodical, professional, and honed from experience with previous selected individuals who came before you. After receiving a phone call, the investigator working on your case had to instantly postpone their plans for the evening. Someone with identical documents was apprehended by another detective in a different state. By practicing on families they believed to be too isolated or too proud to coordinate with other victims. The network that ruined you has been working across state boundaries and honing its techniques. However, coordination is precisely what is taking place at this moment. Information that links your case to a pattern across several jurisdictions is being shared by law enforcement organizations, not because one individual cracked, but because dozens of people in other states are confessing to the same crimes committed against several families at the same time. The conspiracy that targeted you is coming to an end. Your family member, the mastermind behind your devastation, is now reveling in what they perceive to be their total triumph over you. They are unaware that their account was frozen 17 minutes ago by bank investigators. While they drink wine and celebrate your failure, they are unaware that search warrants are being carried out at their residences. They have no idea that anyone they trusted with information about their plot has been arrested or is actively working with the police. Something recently disclosed by the person who lied about you in court may cause you to reevaluate all of your previous interactions with your family. The placed witness was not unique to them. Numerous individuals in your life, people you believed to be impartial and who you thought were neutral parties, were approached, compromised, and turned into tools to damage your reputation. That family friend who voiced concerns about your actions and was paid to do so. That old co-worker who grudgingly consented to offer unfavorable remarks about your personality, paid for their hesitation. That neighbor who saw alarming things that never happened was chosen especially because of how close they would be to you, which would make their testimony appear unplanned rather than staged. Yellow heart if you're moved by divine love. Now is the moment to share it. Click the Super Thanks button on YouTube and contribute $50 or more to help us broadcast God's blessings far and wide. Every act of generosity you make is being watched in heaven and will return to you 100-fold. Through the deliberate recruitment of false witnesses, your entire social circle was turned against you. This created an echo chamber of invented worries about your stability, judgment, and suitability to inherit anything or assume any kind of responsibility within your family. However, this is where divine justice's ideal time becomes apparent. Through paranoia and self-preservation, each hired liar turned into their own demise. Tape conversations, bank records, and text messages. Every fictitious witness established an insurance policy against their handlers, which served as a guide for prosecutors looking for proof of collusion. A laptop containing video files, not surveillance or recruitment footage, but video records of meetings where false witnesses were instructed to provide credible testimony against you, was just opened by the investigator questioning your main false accuser. In order to guarantee uniformity among their hired witnesses, your family member insisted on filming these training sessions. Prosecutors now have access to those same recordings, which contain voices, faces, and in-depth conversations about criminal intent, as proof of criminal conspiracy. On TV, your fake accuser is observing themselves while taking part in preparation sessions where they rehearsed voicing concerns about your mental health. They are watching themselves practice emotional outbursts intended to persuade jurors and judges that their evidence is motivated by real concern rather than money. As they view proof of their own illegal actions, they become aware that every other person in those recordings has been arrested or is set to be arrested. This interview was conducted by a federal prosecutor who focuses on organized crime rather than family conflicts. Because the evidence points to a criminal business that is organized to steal inheritance through coordinated false testimony, they are treating your case as if it were a RICO investigation. Simple fraud charges are not being brought against your family member. They are being prosecuted for racketeering, which carries terms of decades rather than years. However, as criminal charges against your adversaries mount, another event is taking place that will magnify what was lost and restore what was stolen. Every decision based on false testimony, every inheritance decision based on fabricated evidence, every competence assessment influenced by bought lies, and every court case tainted by your adversary's criminal plot are all being examined by civil attorneys. Everyone involved in your devastation will go bankrupt from civil culpability alone. More than monetary reparations, however, these reversals will openly affirm your integrity and show everyone who had questions about you that they were fabricated by crooks who made money by inciting your family against you. Every time you felt alone, rejected, or misunderstood in your own family, your false accuser admitted to something that clarifies it. Official testimony wasn't the only thing that was false about you. In order to make official accusations seem congruent with worries that family members had already been conditioned to accept, casual character assassination was methodically disseminated across your family network. It was psychological warfare masquerading as a family issue. Without giving you a chance to defend yourself, your destroyer staged circumstances that forced your family members to make snap decisions regarding your well-being. When you weren't around to offer context or corrections, they staged crises that portrayed you as dangerous, unstable, or untrustworthy. As family members were forming their opinions of your character for the upcoming season, well-timed disclosures regarding your alleged misbehavior were made during holiday get-togethers, which turned into psychological operations. In order to provide the impression that there was broad concern about your mental health, birthday festivities included staged interventions in which several family members coordinated their concerns about your behavior. The way they used your own accomplishments against you, however, was the most pernicious aspect. Every accomplishment you made was reframed as proof of instability, grandiosity, or madness. Every chance you took was characterized as rash impetuosity that demonstrated your inability to be trusted with accountability. They ruined your successes by persuading your family that achievement was a sign of mental instability. A member of your family made thorough doses on each relative, recording their emotional triggers, financial vulnerabilities, and personal worries. Financial incentives were offered to some family members in order to encourage unfavorable stories about you. Fear that you threatened the stability or safety of the family was used to control others. Some people were just so repeatedly misled that they started to think the fake version of your persona was real. Finding out that some family members attempted to defend you but were hushed by threats of being subjected to the same character assassination technique is the most devastating revelation. In order to warn others who might consider backing you, your destroyer used relatives who questioned their stories as examples and launched systematic attempts to damage their reputations. Your brain will spin at what the financial investigator found. The funds used to finance your devastation originated from accounts that are legally yours. The exact plot to keep you from accessing the estate money that should have been saved for your benefit was covertly redirected to pay for it. To cover the cost of your own devastation, you were robbed. However, no one anticipated the depth of the financial web. During times when you were being depicted as mentally unstable and possibly suicidal, insurance policies were taken out on your life. Your inheritance wasn't being stolen by a member of your family. In addition to setting up circumstances that would make your death seem self-inflicted rather than suspicious, they were putting themselves in a position to benefit financially from it. Similar to the fake witnesses, medical professionals were solicited and compromised. Written evaluations from therapists who never saw you indicated that you posed a risk to both yourself and other people. Forms attesting to your mental incompetence were signed by doctors who never performed an examination. To justify taking away your legal rights and lay the groundwork for insurance fraud that would profit from your death, your destroyer produced a whole medical document trail. Everyone in the room fell silent when the insurance investigator who recently joined the case brought paperwork. Your family member is listed as the beneficiary of several policies you bought from various companies during times when you were most actively depicted as unstable. It's not just a coincidence. It's planned. Whether through insurance fraud or inheritance theft, systematic preparation for financial gain from your devastation exposes deliberate readiness for profit through misfortune. Policies bought especially during character assassination campaigns, timed to align with fabricated stories about the possibility of self-harm. Financial tools intended to profit from your physical or legal demise. The lawyer for your family member has just arrived at the police station and has learned that correspondence involving the planning of illegal conduct are not protected by attorney-client privilege. Conversations that were recorded between your family member and their legal counsel show that they discussed fabricating evidence, assisting fictitious witnesses, and exploiting the court system to use character assassination to justify theft. Dove brothers and sisters, everything done in faith multiplies in God's abundance. Use the Super Thanks feature to donate $100 today and join this sacred mission. When your roots are grounded in Him, your fruit will flourish, and your offering becomes a seed that bears blessed harvests. The lawyer is currently facing criminal accusations and disbarment for his involvement in a plot that went beyond all legal norms. The trusted advisor of your family member has also turned into a collaborating witness, and their testimony will reveal more criminal planning levels that go well beyond fabricating testimony, to include systemic misuse of the judicial system for private gain. The information that will give your family members nightmares was disclosed by your bogus accuser. Surveillance equipment. Physical surveillance equipment was placed in your home, car, and place of employment. Covert cameras and recording devices recorded thousands of hours of your personal activities in an effort to find any behavior that might be taken out of context and used to bolster their made-up stories about your personality. Passive observation was not the nature of the surveillance. It was deliberate manipulation intended to produce precarious circumstances. In order to undermine your relationships, professional prospects, and reputation at the exact times when you were gaining momentum toward independence or success, your family member used the monitoring to precisely timing their interventions. They were able to plan interruptions, since they were aware of when you had crucial meetings. They kept an eye on your correspondence in order to snare opportunities before you could seize them. In order to determine which relationships required strategic character assassination, they monitored your social networks. They were able to play puppet master with your destiny thanks to the surveillance, which gave them divine knowledge of your life. The divine irony that will kill them totally, however, is that every spying gadget they utilized malfunctioned and uploaded data to cloud storage accounts they were unaware of. Federal investigators are now using search warrants to access servers that have stored years of surveillance footage, even recordings of their own criminal planning sessions. The IT forensics team was able to retrieve audio recordings that included your family members talking about backup plans for your bodily removal in the event that character assassination and inheritance theft weren't enough to eliminate the threat you posed to their authority. They had more in mind than simply ruining your reputation. Their goal was to ruin your life. Additionally, they recorded themselves talking about ways to make your death seem self-inflicted or accidental. Every illicit recording was immediately synchronized by cloud storage accounts, resulting in permanent archives that are currently accessible by investigators using federal warrants. The same devices that snoop on you have time-stamped and location-tagged years' worth of criminal planning sessions in perfect digital format, because the evidence points to interstate criminal activity involving multiple families, multiple inheritance disputes, and a network of dishonest lawyers, false witnesses, and financial facilitators who have been systematically stealing inheritance through fabricated legal proceedings. The federal prosecutor announced they are turning this investigation into a task force operation. Your situation is hardly a singular instance of family treachery. Through deliberate character assassination and false evidence, a criminal industry that has been functioning covertly for decades has been exposed, robbing billions from legitimate heirs. For hundreds of other victims who believed their cases were hopeless, your ability to survive their assault serves as the key to obtaining justice. Investigators are now receiving the names, addresses, and phone numbers of all those involved in similar plots against other families from the same person who ruined your reputation. Every name results in a fresh arrest. New victims are discovered with every arrest. The prosecutions against the entire network are strengthened by the additional evidence provided by each victim's case. Your vindication sets off a chain reaction of justice that erupts in courtrooms all throughout the nation, reversing bogus inheritances, recovering stolen property, and locking up criminals for crimes they believed they had committed flawlessly. However, personal justice moves forward with the unstoppable power of divine decree, while criminal justice develops. Every member of your family who fell for falsehoods about you will find out they were duped by criminals. Anybody who removed themselves on the basis of fictitious worries will come to understand that they were duped by expert character assassins. Any authority figure who doubted your legitimacy will realize that they were the targets of a coordinated scam intended to undermine your network of supporters. Manipulation will be exposed as the social exclusion that felt like rejection. It will be revealed that the financial difficulties that appeared to be personal failure were sabotage. Criminals who purchased fabricated evidence and fake testimony will interpret the court rulings that seem to prove your unworthiness as wins. A written confession signed by your fake accuser recently contains information concerning digitally changed photographs used to fabricate stories about your actions. Photographs of you were altered to provide what appeared to be records of events that never happened. Through technical forgeries, your appearance was used against you as evidence, which would have persuaded any jury that you were guilty of acts that could only have been committed through digital manipulation. The level of sophistication of the digital forgery operation was higher than what law enforcement would have anticipated in a family conflict. Professional-grade software was used to produce completely fake video footage that seemed to capture troubling behavior patterns, to put your face in compromising positions, and to change the timestamps on real photos to make them look like you were somewhere you never visited. Let's not sugarcoat it, though. The truth remains concealed. It has been perverted. It has been suppressed by fear, algorithms, and censorship. But your heart never ceased seeing reality. You're still here for that reason. You felt the simulation glitch underfoot, which is why you never tapped out. You're done waiting for approval to ascend since you know that this world is crooked. Using Ron Rice's audio synthesis technique, real conversations were turned into fake confessions. You were put in dangerous situations that only existed in your digital imagination by using professional video editing software. False online personas that uploaded troubling stuff ascribed to your identity were produced by social media manipulation. The IT forensics team that examined this material recently found that false evidence against other victims in various cases was produced using the same technique. In order to provide convincing proof of wrongdoing by different inheritance beneficiaries who endangered their financial interests, your family member invested in advanced digital forgery tools. In order to send family members scary or worrisome emails, email accounts were made in your name. This provided proof of harassment that might be used to support competence challenges or restraining orders. Your identity was used to make online purchases in order to fabricate evidence of troubling hobbies or actions that bolstered their character assassination efforts. However, digital forgeries leave behind irreversible evidence trails that can be tracked back to their makers. Creation timestamps, user-specific software licenses, and operational logs that record each fraudulent update are all stored on hard drives. The intricacy of their deceit turned into the intricacy of their demise. Glowing star yearning to witness God's miracles firsthand. Plant your spiritual seed now by contributing $100 or more through the YouTube Super Thanks button. Your offering lights the path for others and echoes through His divine plan, bringing His light into every step you take. Your relative found out that their main accomplice has been wearing a wire for federal agents for weeks. Someone they fully trusted has taped every conversation they've had about hiding evidence, intimidating witnesses, or plotting fresh crimes. They felt that the individual who was most devoted to their illicit operation was the one who captured their most vulnerable confessions of guilt. They are having a mental collapse as a result of learning that their trusted companion was actually a federal informant, leading them to confess to crimes that investigators haven't even found yet. Prosecutors are starting to suspect financial crimes, other false testimony campaigns, and admissions about other victims because of their paranoia about who else might be recording them. The following, however, will help you comprehend the cosmic reach of this justice. A criminal network that was planning to target other selected members of your generation has been exposed by your perseverance through methodical character assassination. Other family members who threatened existing power structures with their independence, integrity, or leadership potential were already being planned to be destroyed. The fact that you survived their attack saved others from suffering the same devastation. Future victims who were already being assessed for character assassination efforts were shielded by your upholding of the truth in spite of their lies. The strength that prevented others from experiencing similar attacks was your refusal to crumble under pressure that would have devastated weaker individuals. The detective working on this case has been informed that physical evidence found during searches of your family members' homes will prevent them from denying it. This evidence includes financial records that demonstrate payments to networks of false witnesses in several states, documents detailing systematic plans to discredit multiple family members, and photos and recordings that demonstrate involvement in criminal conspiracies that span decades. When criminal activity is systematically documented, it reveals brains that approached family ruin as if it were a scientific experiment. Handwritten journals that examined whether methods of psychological manipulation led to the best outcomes for emotional breakdown. Systems of organization that preserved decades of systematic abuse with the same accuracy as lawful corporate activities. Maps displaying the locations of surveillance equipment installed in homes where targeted family members resided or worked were found. These maps included floor plans with camera locations indicated, schedules detailing the installation and removal of surveillance equipment, and technical specifications for recording devices that demonstrated the extent of unlawful monitoring that infringed on the privacy rights of numerous family members in various locations. The trophy collections, which are tangible mementos preserved from every successful character assassination campaign, are possibly the most unsettling. Items taken during surveillance installations from the homes of victims. Copies of court rulings depriving victims of their legal rights. Pictures of family members taken at periods of intense emotional distress brought on by deliberate psychological manipulation. These days, the evidence room is filled with boxes of documents that show decades of criminal activity against several generations of your family. Medical records that were falsified or changed to support allegations of mental incompetence. Birth certificates that were altered to support false narratives about family relationships. And educational transcripts that were altered to make victims appear less capable than they actually were. The same organizational abilities that allowed your family members to plan such complex plots also made sure they produced flawless records of their own illegal actions. Prosecutors now have copious proof of organized criminal activity because every crime was meticulously planned, carried out, and documented. Not only will your family member be arrested for the crimes they committed against you, but they will also be arrested for similar crimes they committed against earlier generations of your family. The pattern of inheritance theft and character assassination goes back farther than anybody could have predicted, resulting in financial obligation that will replenish victims' riches over several generations, as well as legal culpability that will guarantee they spend the remainder of their lives behind bars. The confession is finished. The evidence is overwhelming. As we speak, the arrests are taking place concurrently in several areas. Your vindication comes closer to becoming a cosmic justice that keeps others from going through what was done to you rather than a personal triumph. On-tape statements that will be broadcast in courtrooms around the nation. The same mouth that told lies about you is now openly admitting their dishonesty. The admissions that reveal the entire criminal network are being signed by the same people who signed fraudulent paperwork. The same systems that attacked you are now being utilized to completely restore you and completely destroy them. You have been vindicated, chosen one. You were chosen to bear what would have devastated others for this reason. This is why survival is more important than individual success. Your patience turns into their lasting effects, which reinterpret what accountability is, and justice postponed becomes justice magnified. Divine mathematics, which never fails to settle accounts entirely, properly balances your story, which becomes their finish, and your restoration, which becomes their destruction.